Well, it's back to school time, but the kids can end up bringing home more than just their books and backpacks.
Head lice, something a lot of parents dread, and they're one of the top reasons kids miss school.
To prevent a full infestation that doesn't seem to go away today, we're learning fact from fiction when it comes to those creepy crawlers.
We can't stop it.
Many parents feel the same after discovering lice in their kids' hair. But with more than 15 million cases a year, it seems inevitable.
Baby oil, anything greasy just to kind of slide them off.
But what can you do? Forget washing in mayo, lice can hold their breath for 30 minutes. If you want to avoid pesticide shampoos, mixing rosemary and tea tree oil into regular shampoo works.
You want me to brush you?
Parents also shouldn't worry about the little bloodsuckers hiding out in the family dog or cat's fur. Head lice can only live off of human blood, so locking pets outside or bathing them won't help to stop an outbreak. Keeping you and your kids lice-free.
Henry looked around, and he's tall.
And studies show that once lice are off the scalp, they die within hours.
So, how do we prevent lice altogether? And what about getting rid of them for good if we do have a lice outbreak on our hands?
And joining us today to give us a heads up on head lice is Diane Pellegrino, Health Services Coordinator for Wicomico County. Welcome, Diane.
Hi,
so let's just hit it head on.
Let's hit it head on.
How do we get head lice? How do our kids get head lice?
Well, the most common way is, of course, sharing headgear, sharing hats, combs, brushes, things that have been in contact with other other children's heads who have lice. Close head-to-head contact, not sitting next to one another, but actually head-to-head contact, maybe using the same pillows or the same bedding of somebody that has head lice.
So a sleepover could be one of the places that it could happen.
A sleepover could be one of the places that it could happen, yes.
All right, so how do we get head lice? How do we not get head lice?
Well, there are several ways not to get head lice. One of those would be never share your hair brushes, your combs, your headbands, your ribbons, hats, scarves, things that come in contact with the head. That would be the number one way to avoid it. Also, not putting your head in close contact with somebody that does have head lice. That would be another way to do it. But the best way is not to share any of your personal hair care items.
Is it considered contagious? And if it is, how contagious is it?
Well, contagious is a word I hesitate to use because it does not spread. Head lice do not spread disease. So contagious kind of goes hand in hand with disease. However, head lice can be spread. The nice thing to know is they do not jump. So if I'm sitting next to somebody with head lice but not actually coming in contact with their head, I'm not going to get head lice from them.
Okay, all right, so let's talk Delmarva specifically. How big of a problem are head lice here?
Head lice are no bigger of a problem here on Delmarva than they are anywhere else in any other part of the country. Head lice, they know no boundaries of race. They know no boundaries for economics. So they're present everywhere in all schools and daycare centers, things like that.
But you see it more in younger kids, don't you?
Absolutely. You have younger kids that are more willing to share their hair items. They come in closer contact with each other at school. They play together much more closely, and so you will see it much more often in younger children than you do in the older population.
So let's say, and we hope it doesn't, but so let's say our child comes up with head lice. Can we still send them to school?
If your child has live lice, they are not allowed to be in school. If they come to school and a school nurse sees live lice, you will get a call to come and pick your child up. If you find live lice on your child, I wouldn't send them to school. However, once live lice have been discovered and you have treated them, then they are allowed to come back to school with proof of treatment.
And proof of treatment might be the box that the
box that you used to treat them with, the box top or the box that you used. Also, to allow them back in, the school nurse would have to check their head again and make sure there's no signs of the live lice.
So what? Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, does that mean we've got to have the nits and everything out?
The nits are actually the eggs that the lice lay, and we used to have a no-nit policy in many counties, but now there was a lot of controversy over since the child's been treated, are these live nits or are they dead nits?
Right.
Nobody really knows. So now we do allow children back into the classroom if they've been treated with, if they still have nits in their hair, but they will be rechecked by the school nurse in several days to make sure that the nits have not hatched.
And just to clear it up, when we're talking about nits, we're talking about eggs?
Yes, the nits, like I mentioned, the nits are the eggs. They attach to the hair shaft.
Okay.
And the way you know that if your child may have nits or may just have some dandruff or lint on their hair is to try to brush it off the hair. If it doesn't brush off and you suspect that your child may have lice, the nits can actually, they glue themselves to the hair shaft. They have a little special glue, and you'd have to just pull it off with your fingernails.
But there's other things that we can look for that might indicate whether or not our child might have lice.
Yes, you want to look for the child scratching their head. You want to look for some small red bumps, particularly around the nape of the neck, behind the ears, which is where the lice tend to lay their eggs. Again, the white flakes that don't just brush or wash away. Right. You always want to check the hair and check the scalp in good lighting. That would be your best bet, is to check in really good lighting.
So what do you suggest if our kids get lice? How do we get rid of them?
The best way to get rid of them is to use the over-the-counter products that you can get at the drugstore, and you also want to make sure that you remove all those nits if you can. Put your child, use the product as directed, use a nit comb, but then sit down and actually put your child under good lighting and go through their hair section by section and get those nits out of the hair. Also, you want to make sure you wash all the bedding in the house, all the clothes that they've worn in the last couple of days. And you want to either boil or replace their hair items, their combs, brushes, hair ribbons, anything that's come in contact with their head.
There is a home remedy for everything. What is the home remedy for head lice?
There is a home remedy for everything, and the home remedy for head lice, and I would only really recommend this in cases where a child may be sensitive to the chemicals in the over-the-counter products.
Okay.
And that would be, you can use olive oil, you can use mayonnaise as an alternative. They have to be left on. It's very strict adherence to be left on a certain amount of time under a certain amount of heat. And so you'd want to follow those guidelines very, very closely to make sure.
Diane Pellegrino, thank you so much. Wonderful information.
And if you would like more information on what Diane talked about or the home remedies, go to delmarvalife.com and click on the show tab.
Well, still ahead on Delmarva Life, we're using more and more batteries in everything. But to a young child, they may look like something to eat instead. Up next, we're going to help you protect your family with safety ideas for your batteries.
It's not just batteries that can be dangerous, your favorite drinks too. From sports drinks to sodas, we'll find out what you're actually drinking. But first, come be a part of the Delmarva Life audience. We'd love to have you here. To book your seat, just visit delmarvalife.com and click on the show tab. It really is a lot of fun.
Now, we want to make perfectly clear here that it's not true that we make you sign a non-disclosure once you see how much fun we have in Historic Studio D, but it gets kind of close to that sometimes. There is so much that goes on that you don't get to see on TV.
And of course, you can give us a call if you want to book your seat, 443-880-9116, Delmarva Life. We'll be right back.